Now, the World Health Organization is reportedly holding a 2-week marathon in Geneva with hopes to push through key sections of the Pandemic Treaty by May 2024. The Pandemic Treaty is that controversial blueprint for how the WHO and the international community will deal with future pandemics. Critics argue this treaty gives too much power to too few and could threaten our basic freedoms. That could never happen. Joining me now to discuss is legal academic and Sky News contributor Rocco Loiano. Rocco, do we have any reason to be concerned about this pandemic treaty?
Oh, look, Rita, good evening. Look, there's every reason to be concerned because the preface to making this was that the World Health Organization does not want to repeat the mistakes of the past and prepare us for the next pandemic. But of course, when you look at the fine print, the powers that the World Health Organization is seeking is to have enhanced control over national decision making in relation to health decisions, enhanced powers in relation to combating misinformation. And they're just two, as well as the authority to make it easier for them to declare a pandemic. Now, that would basically mean we'll just copy and paste what happened in COVID and repeat it again. So we're looking again at lockdowns, mask mandates, vaccine mandates, but this time countries such as Sweden and other Scandinavian countries, and Florida, of course, which wanted to adopt an alternative approach and, of course, had better outcomes, would be prevented from doing so.
Well, that would be shocking indeed, because we saw what happened in this country. You would never think in Australia we would be having not just lockdowns, but curfews, state border closures, people not able to return to their own homes, not able to see their loved ones. And we did that in large part, Rocco, because we followed the WHO advice. We followed what China was doing, because China seems to have enormous power within the World Health Organization.
Yeah, exactly. And look, this is the thing that they say they don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past, but the advice that they gave was to follow China's lead and lockdown and close schools and all these other things, which we're seeing today are having terrible outcomes. This has the potential to be Daniel Andrews, Mark McGowan and Anastasia Palaszczuk all together on steroids.
God forbid. Now, Anthony Albanese's backtracked on having any sort of a COVID Royal Commission. Now, that's upset many, understandably. We have this special commission of inquiry instead, but it lacks power. We can't use that to compel witnesses like the state premiers, the likes of Dan Andrews and Anastasia Palaszczuk. What is this sort of toothless inquiry going to tell us, Rocco?
Probably it will tell us that the federal government, because it's only looking into the federal government response, did the best that it can because there was never a rule book to follow, and will probably have a go at the previous coalition government. We had a similar inquiry set up here by Mark McGowan, marking his own homework, that the government did everything right during COVID, it never made any mistakes. And the lockdowns and the vaccine mandates were all and the border closures were all justified. What we're seeing at the moment, we had the report in the Nine newspapers yesterday and the day before about the effect that lockdowns had and school closures are having on children, the effects that are being seen with isolation, then falling behind in not just their education, but also just basic social skills and the mental health impacts that all that is having. That's all coming out. We're seeing slowly more reports coming out on vaccine injuries. There is a report today in the Daily Telegraph on COVID-19 vaccine injuries. And the WA Health Department, I wrote about this on Sky News as well. The WA Health Department has a document about adverse vaccine reactions, whereas pericarditis and myocarditis, Guillain-Barré and Bell's palsy all spiked coincidentally when the vaccine mandates were introduced. So all these things will be probably swept under the carpet. And we've got a template for that at the moment in the UK with the COVID inquiry there. It doesn't seem to want to have any appetite to look into lockdowns and the effects that they had. And what's also going to be ignored, I think, is the fact that Australia actually had a pandemic plan. It was recently updated as 2019, which said that, look, we adopt pretty much what the Swedes did. We protect the vulnerable and we let everyone else get on with their lives, because the costs of that will be increased debt, increased loneliness, mental health issues, and the like. And the fact that that was all ignored, and we, again, as we said earlier, just copied China and did everything the World Health Organization did, will be completely ignored. Nothing to see here, move on.
Now, Rocco, you wrote about the state of Australia's education system for skynews.com.au. Everyone should visit that site regularly, download the app. And you noted a recent report by the Grattan Institute, which says that 1/3 of Australian school children cannot read. They said this will cost the Australian economy over $40 billion over their lifetimes. 1 in 3 kids can't read. Surely that can't be right, Rocco.
I actually thought that figure was too low, based on some of the things I've seen in my day job. Look, just teaching university students how to construct a sentence. Look, we've seen since the Gonski report back in 2010 that he was commissioned by Juliette Gillard to write a report on how our education system could be improved and how Australia would be aiming to be in the top 5 in the world on the education statistics. Well, the money that's going into education this year around Australia is the highest it has ever been. We're talking about billions of dollars every year, but the education outcomes are going south. There seems to be a fanaticism in this country that you can't fix something without throwing more money at it, but it's simply not working.
And we've seen this through the years under Liberal governments as well. The spending would go up, the results would go down. I think it's a far bigger issue than just what the current Labor government is doing. Rocco Luciano, thank you so much for your time this evening. Really appreciate it.